Okay, we see some of our participants coming into the program. Hopefully you're able to see my screen and you are also able to hear me. So we are going to be starting the program in just a few minutes. If you would like to add a little message about whether you can see or hear us, that would be great. You do have a Q&A component here. You are all muted, but we can take your questions and so forth in the Q&A component. So we're just going to wait a few more minutes and then we will get started. It's not a very lengthy program today, so we have a lot to share with you. So we're just going to be waiting another just a minute or so. Let people in. We are using the question and answer component, and I have someone who just said that she can see and hear me. So thank you for that. Thank you so much. Also, we have people signing in from all over the United States. Also lots of people from New Jersey, of course. And we're always pleased to see where you're accessing our program. You know, are you in New Jersey? Are you in the country? We've had even people sign on internationally. So it's always a lot of fun to see where people are from. So if you want to add that to the chat, that's sometimes, that's fun to see. So in this case, you're using the Q&A function, and you know, I'll be monitoring that throughout the program also. So let's give it another 15 seconds. Okay. So, all right, we'll get started then. So welcome to Live from Duke Farms. This is a series that we've been doing monthly, and today we are producing the program Sustainability Now. And it's presented by a whole team of people on the education team. This is such an important topic related to climate change that we have a whole group of people from the education team. I'm Kate Riley, I'm the manager of education. We also have Vaughn Scully, you'll be meeting Vaughn, you'll be meeting Abigail Schmid, and also Carl Cucchiera, part of our education team at Duke Farms. Also, shout out of thanks to Jeff Geis, who helped behind the scenes, and our wonderful director, Nora Ducciera, who is always so helpful. So thank you for that. And also, you'll see some of the work of Joanne Vogel today also. So as I said, it's a big topic, and so we've invited the whole gang to get involved in this topic. And we just want to tell you that in September, we are doing all different materials and resources about sustainability. And of course, Duke Farms is just chock full of elements related to sustainability. And that's why we're so excited to be doing this program that starts with a little tiny PowerPoint that I'll be going through. And then we'll do a little set of gymnastics where I'm going to stop sharing, and hopefully the education team is still on the property. And then they'll be sharing different components of sustainability right around the visitor center, the orientation center, our converted farm barn. You'll be learning about those elements, and then in the design of the program, please remember that you'll be getting lots of different resources emailed to you after the program. So the program extends beyond just this video component. You will also be getting resources, and of course we invite you always to explore on your own, explore Duke Farms, and if you can't get to Duke Farms, explore your own areas, because there's lots to learn no matter whether you're in an urban setting, a rural setting, or a suburban setting. So with that, let's see. Duke Farms is really all about stewardship in action, and that word action is a big component for us, because We are a leader in environmental stewardship. Our mission, as you see it, is to inspire visitors to become informed stewards of the land. It is a place of education. It definitely is a place for enjoyment. And there's all sorts of research that goes on that really enhances not only Duke Farms as a property of 2,470 acres, but also the general health of the region. Under normal, typical circumstances, we do family programs. We do a lot of programs for our guests so that they can be actively engaged in learning. We know that people learn best while they're doing, even for little vampires here involved in an animal track project. We also have programs that start indoors, but then invite you outside. So we're all about learning outside, exploring, and discovery. And I should mention that that's an owl pellet. I was reviewing the slides before, and I said, oh my gosh, I hope they don't think that that's some kind of like lunch or something. That's an owl pellet exploration where we did a dissection of owl pellets, and then we went outside to actually take a look at some of the owls on the property. We also start with wee ones. So, you know, we start our programs with toddlers and then move forward to all sorts of different audiences. And, you know, so that's great fun for us. To continue on to the mission, of course, it's also about the research. So we have a beautiful natural setting. We have diverse wildlife. We have a huge scope of educational programs. We also do demonstrations. We also do pop-up education on the property. And this research is really what drives our practices. So throughout the program today, you'll be learning a little bit more about how we conduct sustainability at Duke Farms. And also what we hope for is that you see something that piques your interest, that says, you know, I can do something like this at home, or I can do something like this in my place of business. So that's what we would like to do. We would like you to get excited about not having a house that looks like Duke Farms, of course, but just taking those small components and saying, how am I going to embed them into my everyday life? Part of this about sustainability is, of course, about energy. And so you'll be learning more about energy production at Duke Farms. We have an enormous solar array. That, of course, is related to the lights and power that we have at Duke Farms. We're learning a little bit about our geothermal wells. And also, you know, what some people don't know is that on that bottom right screen, that's our visitor center. It's currently closed, but our trails are open. So 18 miles of trails for you to explore. What people normally don't see is the upstairs of the farm barn, and that's that center photograph there that's so amazingly beautiful, but designed with energy conservation in mind. So you'll be learning more about that. You know, I tell people I work in a barn, and then I show them these pictures, and it's certainly not a typical barn at all. It's a beautiful place if you haven't been there. We're also about water conservation, of course. So in this case, we are really proud of our parking lot. You're going to learn more about our parking lot. That's not something that typically you see people doing a shout out about their parking lots. But here at Duke Farms, we do, because it is thoughtfully designed, and you'll be learning about the runoff and how that works with these bioswales that are designed. And you'll get an up close and personal look at bioswales in just a few moments and learn about how they operate. And we're even excited about our pavement. So in many cases, our pavement is permeable, and you'll be seeing why that is so important. This is the red path area. So we'll be showing you up close and personal how that permeable pavement works. Also, in terms of water conservation, our constructed wetlands are so very important, and you'll be once again getting a close-up look of our wetlands, and also learning a little bit about green roofs and why green roofs are so awesome for energy conservation, for water conservation. And also there's an article up on our website, which I will be talking about, that shows you green roofs from all over the world. So they are more widely used than you might recognize. In terms of habitat restoration, we do have a huge research project and a great operation on agroecology. We partner with universities and lots of different research organizations about our very unique agroecology efforts. And of course, we look at the landscape of how it was and converting it back to a natural setting. So sometimes it's taking that farmland that was just kind of pretty barren, actually, and then also looking at invasive species and removing those invasive species so that we can expand these beautifully, this beautiful meadow. And of course, why are the meadows important? And that is because our pollinators are in peril. And without the pollinators, it's really troublesome for food preparation and growing. So we're all about restoring this landscape to a natural way. And with that, it changes the entire energy source, it changes the food web, it changes everything in a greener, healthier way. Today's program is just a small piece of what you can learn at Duke Farms and what you can learn about sustainability in September. We started this distance learning portal back in March-ish, April. We probably have about, I don't know, 100 resources. And these resources are designed just about for everyone. So if you are a parent looking for something fun to do with your children, if you are a homeschooler, or if you are virtual, hybrid, virtual, if you're a teacher, if you're an informal educator, all of these products are designed with activities, lesson plans, and all sorts of things that you can use no matter where. So we're very proud of our resources. You can see the arrow pointing to a wonderful resource just on composting. Sarah DeVito, our coordinator of volunteers, is also an expert in composting. So if you want to learn more about composting, which is of course a sustainable practice, you can look at the distance learning portal and learn more about that. We do have articles about different plants and different native species of plants, and Joanne Vogel, one of our educators, writes a beautiful series on bee-friendly flowers and why they're important and how you can use them in your home or business, or even in potted arrangements, in an urban setting. So you'll see articles for September on bioswales, on permaculture, on all sorts of geothermal energy. So after this program, we hope that you visit the distance learning portal not only to access the information about September and sustainability, but last month it was about meadows, and we have things that go back from the summer about fireflies and all sorts of different types of resources, links, and games, and all of that, and videos. So hopefully you'll explore that. At the end of the program, we will also be, sometime this afternoon, sending you a whole bundle of resources. This is live from Duke Farms, the Sustainability Now map. It's a specially designed map, and that map provides a kind of like a little code. You can see the numbers. Those are the numbers of the different parts of, or the different aspects of sustainability that we'll be talking about. And then there's a little informational box that will tell you more. Now, the next time you're on the property, you can download this and have it with you, and then that gives you lots of background information. If you're not able to come to Duke Farms, we hope we use this map. You can also use it with our distance learning portal to learn more about sustainability and our efforts to combat climate change, which is, of course, extremely important to us at Duke Farms. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to perform a little gymnastics move. Hopefully the education team is set up on the property, and let's just see how it goes. Oh, I think I see somebody right there now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. It's a pleasure speaking with you. And at any time, we're always looking for ideas, and we're always looking for new things to do. So you can email any one of us at Duke Farms and share your insights, please. Okay, here we go.
Okay. Hey everyone, thanks for joining us on our virtual tour of the sustainable features that we have here at Duke Farms. I'm Abby and I'm an environmental educator on the property. As Kate mentioned, part of our mission is to be a leader in environmental stewardship. You can see some conservation efforts and sustainable practices used in our buildings, on our trails, and even right here in our parking lots. Here I am at one of the bioswales that we have installed in our visitor parking lot. Let's take a little bit of a closer look. Bioswales are a type of green infrastructure, which is a term used to describe environmentally friendly water management structures or designs that are added to an area. With the acceleration of climate change, it is more important now than ever to add sustainable features to your homes and businesses, while also urging local companies to do so as well. Global temperatures are rising, but along with that comes more intense weather, and for the Northeast, that's going to mean more severe rainstorms and hurricanes. So what bioswales are, basically they're dugout channels that are filled with vegetation. So we can see some goldenrod here, nice vibrant yellow, some New England aster, and some cattails over there in the middle. We also have some trees, including white oak, sweet gum, and black gum that are in there too. So the bioswales themselves are their own little habitat. In the early mornings, often when we're walking into the building from the parking lot, we can see red-winged blackbirds kind of singing from the tips of the cattails. You can also see some butterflies. We just saw some monarchs and some cabbage whites in there, some grasshoppers, and some praying mantises enjoying the habitat as well. So our parking lots are actually slightly inclined towards the bioswales to kind of direct any runoff that we have into the bioswales themselves. So they can filter out any oil, pollution, or silt that gets caught into the vegetation, and then that'll get filtered out through the soil. As for any trash that gets collected, that can all kind of get picked out by hand if any of it ends up in there. So by having bioswales in our parking lots rather than storm drains, we can avoid having polluted runoff run directly into our waterways. And so typically every time it rains, the water will collect on impermeable surfaces. So like the street or the parking lot, and they'll run right into they'll pick up all the pollution and run right into the storm drains. So by having the bioswales, we can avoid that pollution from going right into our waterways and polluting our lakes, oceans, and rivers. So now we're going to head over to the permeable pavement, which is another type of green infrastructure. So here you can see some more goldenrod. That seems to be what's like mainly blooming in the meadow right now. There's probably some boneset mixed in. Those asters are probably in here as well. And there's some teasel over here. In the earlier months, you'll see some milkweed to feed those monarchs that we love so much. So here we are at the permeable pavement. Permeable pavement comes in many different forms. It comes in permeable asphalt, permeable concrete, and permeable pavers. So you've probably noticed what we have here is a little bit different. It is a combination of recycled bits of tire or rubber, and then which is the red parts, and then the darker parts are little bits of gravel. So how it works is basically that it's a porous surface. So when water runs onto the permeable pavement, there's these little cracks in between all the little pieces that the water will filter right down to the next layer, which is a larger layer of rocks. And then under that, it will finally reach the soil and recharge the groundwater. So let's take a little bit of a closer look at how it works. So here's the asphalt. We know this is an impervious surface, right? So that's not going to soak up any water. So when it rains, it's just going to pool, and the runoff's going to collect and just flow to the nearest storm drain. But with the permeable pavement, here's a little sample that we have. When it rains, it just trickles right through, avoiding that pollution that it would bring with it if it were on an impervious surface. So that's pretty cool. So that's all I have for you guys. Carl is behind us in the farm barn over here. This is our orientation center, and he's going to give you a little bit of insight on the sustainable features we have in that building.
Thank you, Abby. Thanks, Abby. Okay, this is our orientation center, or we also call it the farm barn. Built around, construction began around 1900.
Hey, how you doing?
Great, construction began around 1900, and I just love the architecture. Northern France, southern England. But you know, I'm looking at this. It first started as a barn for thoroughbred racehorses. As you can see, look above, you have a shot of Mr. Ed up there. Later, it became a barn for cows, a dairy center. Now, in 2012, it's our orientation center. Our orientation center takes care of visitation. We have a cafe on the first floor. On the second floor, we have offices. Now, I know the question you're dying to ask. How does one heat, cool, and get rid of waste in a building this size? Well, we're going to find out. But before we go inside, take a look at the roof, because the roof is important. It's going to answer one of our questions later on. All right, let's take a stroll inside. Okay. We're going to see how we reduce, reuse, recycle, repurpose, and employ sustainable methods and technology, striving to reduce our carbon footprint. But you'll be happy to know we've achieved the platinum level of LEED certification. We're going to see it right now. All right, this is our visitation center. Beautiful. Let's go and see the top. Very difficult to achieve. LEED certification, platinum, the highest level. Leadership in energy and environmental design. And what do we exactly mean like that? Okay, energy, electricity, correct? We don't have an electric bill. Why don't we have an electric bill? We have over 2.5 acres of a solar array very close by that provides energy for our lighting and our heating. Look at the lights. We employ huge windows. We try to take advantage of as much natural light as possible. All the lights we have here have little sensors on it, so it maintains the correct level of light intensity using natural light and then minimizing the energy that we use. But that's not all. We're going to take a stroll into our cafe. All right, this is our cafe. We have more lighting, but I wanted to bring your attention to these, we call them baffles on the windows. Now these baffles let in natural light, but reflect thermal energy. So heat is heated up and dispersed throughout the building. So let's talk about heat. Look at this floor. Looks like a normal floor, but it isn't. We employ geothermal wells that help us in radiant heating and cooling. And I'll tell you about geothermal wells. You saw a little picture before. You drill down about 400 feet. The temperature is 50 to 55 degrees all year round. And what does that do? It helps cool the building in summer. It helps heat the building in winter. Send a glycol mixture down. It gets pumped up and it goes through this floor. Radiant heating and cooling. So we're taking care of lighting, heating, and cooling. Did you know we divert 75% of waste from winding up in landfills? how do we do that? Well, let's come on. This is our cafe. Let's start with something to eat. Oh. You notice? You don't show what's on the floor. Good job. You're the best, man. Best.
I should.
Everything here, we strive to be compostable. Our plates, compostable. Our silverware, compostable. All plant-based. Looks like plastic, doesn't it? You're wrong. Compostable. Coffee cup, compostable. So we strive very much to reduce, reuse, recycle, and compost things here. And we have compost and recyclable bins. There's one right over here. As you can see, we encourage the people that visit here to use this. Okay. So, let's review a little bit. Heating and cooling. All this is controlled by something called the building management system. It controls the inside and outside of the building. Reusing, composting inside. How about repurposing? Let's check it out. Isn't this beautiful? Beautiful counter, beautiful area, all from trees that have fallen on our property. So we strive to repurpose. This happens to be on our property. All the things you see right here. So in addition to the counter, I'm going to show you something that very few people are able to see. All right. You're going to see stairs, just an example of what lies ahead upstairs. The wood here has all come from barns. Barns that have been taken down, and the wood has been repurposed and reused. And upstairs, there's supports, all from old barns. Great. This bench, beautiful, isn't it? Again, fallen trees. We've taken out the wood. We've rebuilt this all from local wood, from this property. Now last, but definitely not least, something most people don't want to talk about, but we're talking about it. Human waste. It's important. Our bathrooms. You realize all human waste is distributed on the property. But how is it distributed? Through various systems. It's treated in different stages, as you heard it prior to this, and eventually gets filtered out to our constructed wetlands in the back. It's broken down through filtration, bacteria, plants, but to flush this out, you would need water. Now, I told you before, pay attention to our roof. Why is that roof so important? Rainwater. Rainwater comes off that roof, flows into cisterns. Also, we use well water. That's known as gray water. We use it for cleaning, for flushing, for watering our plants, and most importantly, for getting human waste out, distributing it to our filtration systems outside. And all of this winds up in our constructed wetlands. So I hope you see what we've done sustainably to lessen our carbon footprint. Now that construction wetlands, we're very fortunate because we have Vaughn out there right now who's going to explain it to us. Good luck, Vaughn.
Mike. Right. Okay. Hello. Thank you, Carl. So here we are. We're on the east side of the Farm Barn Orientation Center. And this, I think, is one of the most interesting, innovative, yet simple systems that we have here at Duke. This is a great example of how we learn from nature to improve our interaction with our global environment. And it's a great way to display our functional educational displays, where everything that we do here, because we are striving to be a model of environmental stewardship, all of our displays, they have a purpose, they have a function, they are actively working every single day, so that when you come and you visit or you read about it, you can get an idea of how it actually works and how you might even be able to implement it at home, depending on what it is. So this, the constructed wastewater wetland, this is actually a fairly inexpensive and easy to maintain system that we use to clean all of our wastewater that comes from the farm barn itself. This is a closed loop system, and I'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later. But what is a wetland? That's the first thing you kind of have to understand how this works. A wetland is exactly what it sounds like. It's an area where the water's either covering the surface of the ground, so think of a pond, a vernal pool, a lake, a river, the river bed, anything like that, or an area where the water table is just below the surface, so it's actually inundating and soaking in that soil, kind of like a sponge. Wetlands themselves, which we have a lot of here in New Jersey, I don't know where all of our participants are from, but New Jersey, super wet state. We're coastal, we have a lot of wetlands, and they are absolutely essential. They're integral to our ecosystem, to our environment, because they are what is called a biofilter. Also exactly what it sounds like. All of the plants that live in a wetland, they're designed to be soaking in that water, either totally submerged, coming to the surface, floating on the surface. Their roots that are deep down in that soaked soil, or even free floating, are designed to filter that water, to take up whatever is in it, use it, and then send out clean water. All the plants here, not only are they built to exist in this habitat, but all of the animals around them are built to live in them. They create a habitat. Wetlands are super vital nurseries for a couple of fish, a lot of fish. Some even that come all the way from the coast. They'll come inland, they'll swim upriver, upstream, they'll go into our salt wetlands. It is a really important nursery for them. It's also an important nursery for a lot of amphibians, frogs, toads, salamanders, things like that. This provides a safe haven for them. And that, all of these animals that I'm talking about, they're the base of our food chain, our global food chain. So if anything were to happen to them, everything else would collapse. Now, what are we doing with this? So what is a constructed wetland? What does a wetland in general have to do with poop, basically? That's what we're talking about. Let's get it all out in the open. We're talking about poop. So the closed loop system that we have comes from the farm barn, like I said. It comes from the kitchens, the water that's used in the sinks, and the water that is used in the toilets and the sinks in the bathrooms. So we all know what's included in that, all right? We all know. Everything that comes from there gets flushed down into a tank that's below ground here, and it starts to break down in there. All of the solid parts start to break down into liquid. Natural processes start occurring, breaking everything down into a more liquid form. And then it gets funneled up to the top of these two filtering tanks here. These are really cool. Inside each of these tanks is a series of plastic membranes. And you can kind of think of like square or cube-shaped wiffle balls. They kind of look like that, plastic with holes in them. That liquid waste starts to trickle down just by itself using gravity through all these series of holes and membranes. What's happening in that process is the ammonia, which is a toxic part of organic waste. The ammonia is mixing with the oxygen in the air inside the tanks, and it's breaking it into nitrates and water. The nitrates and water mixture and whatever else was in there, whether it be organic matter or even antibiotics in people's systems or bacteria, viruses, anything like that, that mixture then gets sent into the wetland itself. Now this is constructed, okay? This is a controlled system. This is not a wild wetland. We specifically planted all of these native plants. You see these tall cattails. Then next to them, you'll see a lot of irises, blue flag iris. You'll even see some red cardinal flower, some purple lobelia, all of these really wonderful native wetland plants that are built for this. We plant them in here, almost like a large garden bed. and the water gets funneled underneath them and filling the soil that they're planted in. As it moves through, these plants are pulling up those nitrates, they're pulling up the organic material that they would use anyway, no matter where it came from in nature, pulling that up and sending out clean water. They're also grabbing whatever sediment might be in there. If any sediment gets into the system, they're pulling that up. And then it goes into another tank after it makes its way through this whole constructed wetland bed, goes into another area where there's a mixture of gravel and sand, and kind of similar to the permeable pavement that Abigail was talking about earlier, does the same thing, more mechanical filtration, pulling out any little bits and bobs that might be left over, and then it gets sent out super clean to our wildflower meadow, which is out beyond the farm barn, which if you've ever visited us, it's the farm barn meadow, beautiful loop around it. You could take a look around at all the wonderful plants that grow using this water. The water is obviously not potable. It's probably a little similar to gray water, what we would think of with that. You wouldn't want to drink it directly, but it is absolutely clean enough to be used out in our habitat. There's over 1 million gallons of water every year conserved because of this system that we use, that we can send directly out to support all of the life that lives out there. So we have a really large setup. This may not be something that's feasible to use at home to install in your backyard, but we have so many other systems here at Duke that we have on functional display that you can come check out. Also, I will plug again the distance learning portal. You can check out all of the articles that we've been posting for months, especially our Sustainable September series that we've all been working really hard on. And the packet that we've created will be sent out to you at the end of the program later today. And in that packet, there's going to be links, digital links to a bunch of those articles that I'm talking about. So if you have any questions, you can always email Kate, kriley@dukefarms.org. Get in contact, come to visit. We're here. We welcome you with open arms to come explore Duke and all the things you can learn here. And we thank you so much for your attendance. I'm sure Carl and Abigail and Kate agree. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you for coming. And we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.